Hey everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode of From the Desk with Paulina Luna. This week, we're going to be following up on the aftermath of Hurricane Ian. We'll be covering a photo breaking the internet that simply has a shirt with one word changed, and of course, Kanye West and Candace Owens. And of course, going back to the Hispanic failed outreach by the Democrat Party. But hey, that's okay because Joe Biden's Puerto Rican, right? This is From the Desk of Paulina Luna. My name's Paulina Luna. I'm pro-life, pro-God, pro-gun, and anti-globalist. Hey everyone, this week's episode is brought to you by our wonderful friends over at bravebooks.us. Don't you wish there was more conservative content for kids? We all know the education system is currently garbage, but have no fear. Bring your family and your kids reading over to bravebooks.us. They recently published a book called The Plot Against the King. I wonder who that's about. By our good friend Kash Patel. If you're interested, check them out, bravebooks.us. They sponsor our show, but more importantly, they have great content for kids and their parents. Okay, so a few things happened between last week's episode and this week's episode. The first thing is that the shift of Hurricane Ian impacted Sanibel Island, Fort Myers, and the catastrophic devastation is something that here in Florida, we haven't seen before. If you look at some of the footage that we posted on our social media, videos that came out after the fact, it definitely restores faith in humanity to see how many Floridians have really come together to provide relief to some of these areas. But it wasn't long before the left-wing media decided to attack none other than our governor, Ron DeSantis. So listen to what CNN had to say. And before I roll this clip, I want to put something in perspective. The level of catastrophe that we saw is something that we haven't seen before here in the state of Florida. But remember, in about 48 hours leading up to when Hurricane Ian made landfall, the media across the country were saying that Hurricane Ian was going to hit Pinellas County, which is where I'm at, in the Tampa Bay region. No one anticipated the last minute shift that this hurricane made. Thank God we had people that stepped up to the plate. Thank God we had Governor DeSantis, who is more than prepared and ready for this hurricane. However, check out what CNN had to say.
Do you stand behind Lee County's decision to not have that mandatory evacuation until the day before the storm?
Well, where was your industry station when the storm hit? Were you guys in Lee County?
He's always so good at his comebacks.
No, you were in Tampa. So
that's how you have to be with the media, though, when they try to spin the questions.
And they had to make decisions based on that. But, 72 hours, they weren't even in the cone.
Correct.
48 hours, they were on the periphery.
They said it was going to hit Tampa.
The decisions the best you can. I will say, they delivered the message to people. They had shelters open.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody had adequate opportunity to at least get to a shelter within the county. But, a lot of the residents did not want to do that. I think probably for various reasons. Some people just don't want to leave their home, period. They're island people, whatever. But I think part of it was so much attention was paid to Tampa that I think a lot of them probably thought that they wouldn't get the worst of it. So, but they did. And I think it's easy to second guess.
What I love about this is he's willing to talk to these left-wing outlets, knowing that they're probably going to try to sabotage him, but he very quickly will correct when they try to plant a question or skew the conversation without having all the facts. So I love that about DeSantis. Obviously, DeSantis does not control the weather, contrary to what the left-wing media might try to imply. But nonetheless, it was incredible to see how many people, especially those from Pinellas County, that really stepped up to the plate. I really wanted to give a quick shout out. There's an organization called the Cajun Navy. You guys can find various photos on our social media, but these people, obviously from Louisiana, this organization, and they have been known to provide disaster relief to include well after the fact when a lot of these organizations leave. They will actually go in and help reestablish these communities. And I went down there and can tell you the devastation that has occurred. I literally saw a house, half of a house that had just been completely ripped in half and relocated onto another one. So when I tell you that it's really bad, I mean, the photos that we see on the internet simply just don't do it justice. But had we not had Governor DeSantis, I don't know that the response would have been as good as it has been. So it's easy to sideline quarterback a lot of these events, but I will tell you that a majority of people that I talk to include people in these affected area, are actually very happy that DeSantis responded the way that he was, that they were prepared. And remember, there was over 40,000 linemen that were ready to go, to include working with Florida Power and Light. And then, of course, we saw recently that Elon Musk is actually going to be bringing in Starlink in order to bring internet to some of these affected areas, because as you know, there's still a majority of these islands that are actually cut off, or these barrier islands that are cut off off from the mainland. So very happy to have the support that we do, but it's really awful to see the polarization and politicization of something this horrific by the left. And it doesn't just stop there. Do you guys remember when all of those service members were getting kicked out of the military because they didn't want to take the COVID-19 vaccine, right? And they ended up getting discharged and or are still waiting on their separation orders? Well, it's ironic because one of the brave, heroic Coast Guard members, it was actually Aviation Survival Technician Second Class Zach Loesch. He's in that viral photo that you saw that was rescuing a woman and her husband, literally kicked through a wall in order to get them, and then went back to retrieve her wheelchair and then attach it to his body as he was being hoisted by a helicopter. He is one of the 2,632 active members of the Coast Guard that are getting discharged currently because they did not take the COVID-19 vaccine. Now, to be clear, Joe Biden actually went on to congratulate this person, but it's because of Joe Biden's policy and Joe Biden's appointees to the Secretary of Defense all the way down. As a result of that, these people are now getting discharged. And it doesn't just stop there. There's collectively 15,000 service members that are either waiting on discharge or are facing discharge because of their vaccine status. Mind you, a lot of these people have filed for religious exemptions. And of course, because of the fact that they don't want to go along with this, they are now facing the fact that they might lose their jobs. And that's because of Joe Biden's policy. So very ironic that he was congratulating this very person that he is trying to kick out. We know the guy's a hero. We know that he's gone above and beyond the call of duty. And yet, because of the fact that he's not vaccinated, he's getting kicked out. Which brings me to my point that representatives and people serving in office should, the minute we take back the House and the Senate, look at either reinstating these people and or giving them a rating for the fact that they were discharged and basically treated like garbage because they didn't want to take something that might interfere with their religious beliefs, which is a founding principle of this country, right? Freedom of speech, freedom of religion. So that is something that is protected by our Constitution, and we have to respect it nonetheless, regardless of what politics or politicians say. Brings us to our next big topic. So there I am on Instagram, of course. And I see this incredible photo of Kanye West and Candace Owens. And at Paris Fashion Week, which is a huge deal in the fashion world, a huge deal in general for, I think, anyone in Hollywood, and definitely a huge deal that Candace Owens is actually breaking into the culture. And so, of course, her shirt says something not too controversial, right? It says White Lives Matter, which is one word off from the Black Lives Matter shirts and one word off from the Hispanic Lives Matter shirts. So basically you have these shirts, right? You have the BLM shirts, you have the Hispanic Lives Matter shirts. But if you say something like White Lives Matter, that's apparently racist and or inciting violence, according to the editor of Vogue magazine. So Gabriella Carifa-Johnson actually got in a fight with Kanye West, saying that he was inciting violence for posting this shirt, which, to be clear, it might be, quote unquote, someone's opinion that they shouldn't do this, whatever it is, but it's definitely not inciting violence. And it's definitely their right to wear whatever the heck they want on shirts. And explain to me how it's not racist or violent to have one demographic but not another. I mean, the fact is that they are taking this and they're skewing it. And I also have a question for the editor over at Vogue, Gabriella. If someone's half white, does that mean that they are embracing their violent half? I mean, this whole argument is so incredibly divisive. Kanye West is arguably one of the most influential Black icons in American history. Candace Owens, same thing. Thought leader, I would say civil rights activist, and definitely someone that is influencing and breaking glass ceilings. The fact that they are trying to box these people into stereotypes of how they need to think, how they need to vote, and then saying that they are inciting violence or implying that they are racist because they are wearing a shirt that simply says the same thing that a BLM shirt would say, except it has the word white instead of black. It's really sad to see, but I'm so glad that Kanye West and Candace Owens are staying strong in their beliefs. They're definitely impacting the culture more than we'll ever be able to see or understand. But I'm telling you, generations of voters, we're going to see it here in the midterms, and we're going to see it in 2024, people are waking up to the last 10 years of exploitation and propaganda that the mainstream media has used against the American people, and I'm here for it. Speaking of exploitation and the mainstream media covering for many, many people that have overstepped their boundaries, let's talk about what Nancy Pelosi decided to say over the weekend. Roll the clip.
We have a responsibility to secure our border. We also have a responsibility to recognize the importance of newcomers to our nation. Right now, the best thing that we can do for our economy is to have comprehensive immigration reform. We have a shortage of workers in our country, and you see even in Florida, some of the farmers and the growers saying, why are you shipping these immigrants up north? We need them to pick the crops down here. But that doesn't mean that we don't recognize our moral responsibility as well. When the president, the former, occasional occupant of the White House,
Wait, hold on. This whole thing is just so cringy. You know, over the weekend, I saw this drop, and the fact is that there's literally no coverage of it, just like they try to basically brush the whole Hispanics are breakfast burritos comment by Jill Biden. I mean, this is just the most tone-deaf thing I've ever heard. By the way, it's interesting that she's implying immigrants are here to pick crops. To be clear, illegal immigrants are largely brought in and they are exploited and they are paid under the table and they're not given fair access. So why would you ever encourage someone to come here illegally? But secondly, if you don't think that this is a gross stereotype, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, the fact is that this is not the first time that I've heard statements and generalizations been made like this about Hispanic people. I actually was at a Politicon event, and there was a reporter there that said the same thing. If we don't let these people come here, who's going to pick the crops? I actually had spoken about that on MSNBC, and I think the reporters laughed. And then today, I actually just had an interview with a massive, massive Spanish-speaking news outlet, actually in Mexico. And I told them, and the reporter's face just like went white, just like ghost white. Like, how could they say this? The fact is that the leadership of the Democrat Party, first of all, I find it very ironic that they're making these comments and they are literally just the most vile racist things, but yet it's supposed to be socially acceptable. And then, of course, you have the gross pandering.
So say it with me. Si se puede. The future is ours.
The fact is that this administration, again, I will say this time and time again, the Democrats don't care about undocumented workers. They use brown people. They use illegal immigrants as a form of political currency. They don't care what happens to them. I could go blue in the face saying it, but until the mainstream media reports on it, then maybe we might have a discussion about it. Right now, they're just trying to hope that people will just stay stupid, not notice, and shut up and color. And we're just simply not going to do that. So what does Joe Biden decide to do literally a couple of days later? It goes from like bad to worse and just completely cringy. He says that he somehow understands the Puerto Rican struggles. Check this out.
And so I was sort of raised in the Puerto Rican community.
What does that even mean?
And so we came here for a long time, both for business and pleasure, since
raised Puerto Rican.
Part of the Third Circuit Court of Appeals and Delaware as well, and I was chairman of the Judiciary Committee. I spent a lot of time.
I have so many questions. Like, how are you raised Puerto Rican? I'm sorry, Joe. We need to have a talk, because I'm pretty sure last time I checked, Joe Biden had a very, very different experience than most Puerto Rican Americans. I'd love to get KG in on this, just to have her do some commentary. It's just completely cringy that they're completely trying to pander and that they're backfiring. It's like they're trying to pander and then insult. It's just like this bizarre backwards, just complete, it's a show. Like, I don't know how else to say it. It's a total show. Okay, so Hispanic exit 2022, it's happening. We're here for it. I will continue to put the facts out there, but the fact is that this administration, this leadership, I've been saying this time and time again, they thought that open borders would work with Hispanic Americans. It's not working. It's completely backfiring. And you know what? When it comes time for them to, they're calling us breakfast tacos. They're saying that we're the crop pickers. They're saying that we're extremists. Well, you know what they're going to call us in November after we vote Republican? They're going to have to call us Republicans, because you saw, and just recently there was a sit-down interview with Paola Ramos and Mayra Flores in South Texas, and people there off the street said, look, we do not want our vote taken for granted. The Democrats think they own us. They're insulting us. They're destroying the economy. We don't want it. And frankly, I'm glad that they are. So this is going to be a hard lesson learned for Democrats. I know that there's probably some Democrats and or journalists watching this, and you guys heard it here first. There's going to be a massive exit, and it's because of this gross disrespect that we're seeing out of the DNC. All right. This brings me to the last part of our episode. I came across this video over the weekend, and it went absolutely viral. As you guys know, I try to cover either our Florida Man of the Week and or viral videos that we find that might leave you thinking about things after the episode. The reason I bring this up today is because, as you know, veteran suicide is on the rise. And what we're finding now, especially with what happened with the withdrawal in Afghanistan, there were so many people that had no idea that the numbers are actually higher than 22 veterans committing suicide every day. I actually found a separate study that I was able to post and cite sourcings from. So it's actually a higher number than that. And this brave law enforcement officer was able to basically, he came across a vet that was pulled off on the side of the road and was actually talking to the veteran suicide crisis line. Check out what happened.
What's going on, boss? What's going on?
I'm on the phone with the VA hotline.
Okay.
For suicide.
All right. Hey, I got you, man, all right? What branch you in?
Army.
Army? All right. Hey, my name's Kyle. All right? We'll help you out, all right, bud? I'm here with you. I'm here with you, all right? I'm going to start an ambulance over here to us, okay? All right, bud? Hey, no. Hey, if I send you, it's nothing on you, okay? State of Connecticut covers that. All right? Can we step out of the car, boss? Just so we can talk? Hey, just want to sit. Yeah, come to the front of your truck, bud.
820.
Starting an ambulance to the 6-8 off-ramp eastbound. I'm with a vet who's on the suicide hotline.
Here's my ID.
Sorry, man. Hey. Do you have anything on you?
No.
Okay, is it all right if I check you? Cool. Any deployments, bud? One? Well, hey, dude. It's a tough time for everyone in your position, all right? Relax, though. Hey, I'm here with you, okay? I'm here.
Yeah.
Do you hear what he says at the end of that video? He asks for a hug. I think it's incredibly important right now, especially for those who are former service members and or people or friends of service members, that you guys always just ask how someone is doing. You know, this video, it speaks volumes, and it's incredibly hard to watch because I think, and Andy and I actually recently had a friend within the last couple of weeks that actually killed himself due to suicide, and he saw a lot. He was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. This is going to be our generation's version, I think, of Agent Orange. It's going to kill a lot of our service members. Back in the day, they would call it shell shock. There has been so many different names for it, but the fact is that it is going to be something that I think we as a community will have to start changing the stigma on and having to start reaching out to these people, because what's happening is the VA system, the way that it's set up, it's not catching enough people. This needs to be dealt with before people leave the service. And so that's something that I think we are going to try to help with. But I mean, this officer, God bless him, we would love to find out who he is. If there is a way that you guys can help us do that, sometimes on social media we have luck with stuff like that, please let us know. Anyways, I hope you share that clip. Make sure to talk to your friends, check on them, and we're also going to be posting the new number for the Veteran Crisis and Suicide Line. Make sure you guys are sharing this number everywhere. Even if it's just a random post, we would appreciate it, because there are people you may not know who you are reaching, who you are touching, but someone out there probably does need to see it, so please make sure to share that. Anyways, that wraps up this week's episode of From the Desk of Ana Paulina Luna. Make sure if you see a viral video that you want to share on our platform, if you have any questions for us, you reach out to us on our Facebook, Twitter, Parler, Getter, Instagram, anywhere basically for the most part, and True Social at Real Ana Paulina. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and comment, and we will see you back next week on From the Desk of Ana Paulina Luna.